In the first video, I showed you how to use the Kindle previewer. Now I'm going to talk about the content that you put in that Kindle previewer. What I have here is what is probably a fairly decent looking PDF file. I would have maybe done a little bit of different formatting in it, but for the most part, it's a fairly decent looking PDF file. So it would seem like the normal thing to do would be to take that PDF file, and I did this on purpose. I wanted to talk about white label content, but make sure that you don't ever try to put in any PLR or white label content that you have into Kindle. Kindle will catch you for that, and that's a bad idea. So you want to stay on everybody's good graces, and so don't, while you may have full rights to the PLR, do not use it in Kindle. You have to create your own content to go into Kindle. Doesn't mean it can't be sourced from other places, doesn't mean it can't be ghostwritten, but don't use PLR content and try to put it in Kindle because it won't work. They will catch you and penalize you for that. So the normal thing to do would then be to just simply hit publish and to create a Mobi for Kindle so that I could then just put that up into Kindle. But let's take a look and see if we can get a little bit smarter than that. I'm gonna pop in here. This is that document. I've saved it as a Mobi. I imported it into my Kindle previewer, and now I'm going to take a very careful look at it and see if I can learn anything that might help me in the future. Okay, so remember this, that Kindle has two orientations. It has that one and it has that one. So don't forget both of those because they're very important, and you want to make sure that you take a look at it from those sides. The other thing that Kindle can do is it can change the size of the lettering. So take a look at this. I can make that significantly smaller, or I can make it larger. And this is going to be the user's experience, all right? They're going to do that very thing. There'll be some who will have to read it like this, and there'll be some who will have no problem whatsoever reading it like this. So it's a really good idea to take a look at that. That's not determined by your software in Designrr. That's determined by what the Kindle reader is capable of doing. And that's the reason why you want to learn as you go when you do this. For my benefit, we're going to put it right about there so it's quick and easy for me to thumb through. All right. And let's take a look at this and see if there's some things that I might benefit from. Notice that this sourcing products is in the table of contents here. People say, I want my table of contents to come from Designrr into Kindle. It doesn't. Kindle creates its own table of contents. And when you look at where that came from in Kindle, or in Designrr, we'll do that in just a little bit. This is how Kindle creates tables of contents. They do it in much the same fashion that Designrr does, but your Designrr table of contents will not import into Kindle. Just keep that in mind. So we're at sourcing products. Start thumbing through this, and we'll see if there's anything that just stands out. Okay. And as I thumb through this, oh, I've got an image right here. Let's take a look at what did that image look like originally. So this is what this image was originally in the document. And we'll just scroll down here because it's under partnerships. So I should be getting really close. Did I skip over it? Right there. So yes, I did because it's small. This is the way the image looked in Designrr, but that's not how the image looks in the Kindle Reader. Very important to remember that. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't look too bad like that. Let's flip it on its side and see what it looks like. Aha. Maybe that image isn't as important as I thought it was. And remember, people aren't looking at Kindle for images. You may look at it in a book for that. As images, but they're not looking at Kindle for images. So keep that in mind. This might not work so well because this is what the reader's experience is going to look like when they get to that partnerships and they come down here to this. That's what they'll get. And I can't readjust that image. That's determined by Kindle. So keep that in mind. The next thing that I'm going to learn when I go through here is that I had a couple of spots where I had an inline call to action, and this is it. Kindle doesn't know what to do with the box that we build in Designrr for PDF files with inline calls to action. So I don't want to use that. The other thing is that this link doesn't work because it was broken when I imported it. All right. Here's another one of those inline calls to action. So it's not a good plan. Now here we go. This is preferable over this. So what I want to do when I'm going to do this, I'll do a couple of more of these because there's a couple more things I need you to see. You see, there was one of the inline CDI or CTAs. Here, these pulled in, and these are hot links, and they work. They're good hyperlinks, and if you click on that link, it will actually take you to that file. All right. I'm not doing this to promote them, so I'm going to delete that. But I want you to see that there's a way to do that. All right. The next thing is, this is my call to action at the end. It doesn't know what to do with that button. So those are things to keep in mind as you go through and design your product so that it can be published on Kindle. Now let's go back to the Designrr, and let me show you a really quick and cool thing to do here. Okay, if you are a pro version user, and you have to be in order to export as or to publish as Kindle, this is what you want to do. You want to take this, and I'm going to do, this is what I do. I duplicate that, and I go Kindle, and then I put the name in. All right. Now I have a version that's going to be a PDF, and I have a version that's going to be a Kindle version. All right. Now I do all my editing in here so that I can make this look like it's going to look for Kindle. Do those things. It will really make your life a lot easier, and you'll be happy with your output from Kindle. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to eliminate those things that would create an issue. Okay. I'll go down through here, and I'm just going to very simply remove the things that need to be removed. That image can go away, and so I'm going to delete I'm going to delete that image, and I'll go down here. And this is another thing, I want you to see this, because when you look over here in this, and I type in tips in the search bar, it's going to take me to that right there. Notice this is not a block quote like it was in the PDF file. Don't be frustrated with Designrr for that. That's not a Designrr issue. That's a Kindle issue. Kindle does not do this block quote like this. It will recognize it as a block quote, as you saw before, and you'll see it right here. It will recognize this as a block quote because it's indented this, and it was indented. It's indented here, so it treated it as a block quote, but it can't do that blue line on the side right there. Just understand that you're dealing with a different platform, and that does its own formatting, but we're bringing in a tool, or we're bringing in a content in a format that Kindle can read it. Okay? If you'll do those things, you'll be very successful. I'll give you a couple more tips in another video, I promise.